Good book.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's like the hustle and bustle of getting here, and then what they do to us is they just bring us back to center and give us the most beautiful invocation. Goodness sakes. Welcome. I'm Reverend Sharon Dunn. I'm the senior minister here at the Sacramento Center for Spiritual Living. And that was the One Love Band. And we are very blessed. I just want to talk about them right now. That came from visioning. That came from prayer. That is answered prayer. These beautiful beings. And it looks like they brought a special guest that our practitioner of the day is going to tell us about. And just so you know, before we get started, one of my favorite musicians is Neil Young. Neil Young. So that might come in later. So, how do you like in this weather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that Shasta Lake is going to be full this summer from all the snow.
Oh,
Nice.
lovely.
So every time I think, gosh, like I said last week, I would love to have a little umbrella drink and be sitting in a lounge chair somewhere in the tropical sun. And when I think about that, I correct myself with a gratitude prayer that we have been praying for in California for many years as we have been in a drought. So this is answered prayer as well.
Yeah.
So you see where we're going here. One thing after another, we can walk in gratitude, can't we? So, and I could just stand up here and name that. But one thing I am going to tell you about, a person I'm incredibly grateful for. A unique minister of God's work. My teacher. I call her my partner. I can get to call her whatever I want, so long as I don't call her late for dinner. My partner, meaning that from the beginning of the inception of this center, she has been side by side with me, every step of the way. She was here first, she called me here, and she has helped to guide me every step of the way for where we are going. And where we are going is very exciting. So, without further ado, this is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister, meaning that she has been on the ordination path for 3 years before taking her panels and passing her panels. Before that, it was hundreds of years of ministry. Before that, she was a practitioner, meaning that as a practitioner, she had to have 5 years of studies plus panels plus tests, written exams. This is a practitioner of truth. She is a true teacher of Ernest Holmes' work, who is the founder of our teaching. I'm in complete admiration. Let her take you there, Reverend Patricia Van Wick.
Thank you. Join with me now, if you will, while we invoke the presence that has always been here and always will be with us. Right now, right here, this moment, there is that life, that creative power that has been here before time and space existed. It simply is. And what is it? It is pure creativity, infinite possibility, absolute love, and unity. because it is all that there is. And out of itself, it creates all of life. I live and move and have my existence within this unity. It expresses itself as me. I am God's idea of itself moving in the world. And today I open my heart and my mind to the reality of that truth, the authenticity of that identity. And I invite all to be aware of this, to open to this. And I am so grateful for this community, for our minister, for our support team, for our community, our common unity that is expressed so beautifully through the music and the message this morning. And so it is.
Beautiful. That is.
And now, our readings. The divine pattern would be imperfect without you. Dare to be yourself. Stand in wonder before the majesty and might, the beauty and power of that divine presence, which seeks expression through your individual life. Dr. Ernest Holmes. Again from our Dr. Ernest Holmes. You rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your good and possess it today. And from Brene Brown, Rising Strong. Compassionate people ask for what they need. They say no when they need to, and then say yes. They mean it. They're compassionate because their boundaries keep them out of resentment. We have an absolute treat today. Something new from our new musicians. We have a friend of theirs. Desert Dan is also known as Dan Whitney, and he lives in Sacramento. He's been a mason for 51 years and working at music for 63 years, starting at the piano at 5 years old. He was learning the guitar and how to read music from guitar teachers George Kaler and Stan McLaren at Lively Arts Music in Northridge, California. He is currently finishing a CD titled Plateau with 11 original songs that he has written over 40 years and with the embellishment of 16 artists who performed in the studio for this project. And rumor has it that Sue and Linda are on the album. The songs will be available by the middle of May at desertdan.com, desertdanmusic.com for purchase. And he's currently working on his second CD titled Have a Heart. He likes to perform music at restaurants, church and concerts, because music is good medicine to lift your spirits. Please welcome Desert Dan.
Thank you for the announcement. This is a song that it came to me when my cousin Kevin, our cousin Kevin, my wife, was passing away on morphine in the Camellia room at Kaiser Hospital. And there was children playing outside, and the drape was open, and the breeze was coming through along the drape, and the kids were laughing and having fun there. And Kevin was taking his last breath of morphine. So I wrote this song for him. The melody was going through my soul, so I wrote some lyrics to it. And it's called Song for Kevin.
Wasn't that long ago, the angels had to put on a show for all of the world to see what we've known. Now they're counting the stars by the sun, and they're leading up another one. Of the rainbow, our love will continue to grow for some way to bring out light in the day. Our hearts will always be able to find more love at the table. Bring out light in the day. Wasn't that long ago, the angels had to put on a show for all of the world to see what he'd known. Now we're counting the stars by the sun, and they're leading up another one. Of the rainbow, our love will continue to grow for some way to bring out light in the day. Our hearts will always be able to find more love at the table. Bring out the light in the day.
Thank you so much. yours sounds so great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Play it. Thank you.
I love the visual. Didn't you love it with the kids outside? Circle of life, don't they call that? Circle of life. So, again, I am Reverend Sharon Dunn, and we are working with themes. We have a theme for the year, Living Out Loud, and we have a theme for the month, Cultivating Authenticity. And we have a topic today, and our topic is Boundaries Build Bridges. Boundaries build bridges. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about boundaries. I've been asking a lot of people, do you know what a boundary is? Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Well, what is it? Well, it could be this, it could be that. I decided for myself that I wanted to answer that question. What is a boundary? Boundaries are not the rules we make for our lives. They're how we defend the rules. Boundaries don't define. Values define. Boundaries defend. I know. He says. I've been doing a lot of thinking. You know I do that. Maybe too much. But you know, my intention is to walk in the world with loving kindness. And at the same time, authenticity. And I'm not there yet. Because often I am not so comfortable with my authenticity. Because I just blurt it out. Have you ever done that? You just blurt out, well, this is what's true for me. Because we can get defensive until we're comfortable. And I'm not comfortable yet with my authenticity. I had an exchange with Doug this morning, being authentic as a leader. And I thought, that didn't come across very well. But I forgive myself. Do you forgive yourself? And it doesn't hurt to say I'm sorry to the other person. I'm sorry, Doug. And let's talk about this. A boundary is defined as something that indicates or fixes a limit or extent. I know this gets heady, but listen up. Think about it. It defines a limit, the extent of something, where an area ends and another begins. A dividing line, an edge, a border, a line drawn. It is the confines, the constraints, and bounds of something. This is a big word. You know, have you noticed boundaries is kind of a thing now? I have boundaries. He doesn't have any. Boundaries are a thing, and yet I don't think we know what it means. Okay, let me say this. I didn't think I knew what it meant. Because I kind of got mixed up listening to other people. Just on Facebook, one of my colleagues said, boundaries define. No. And how do we set a boundary? Aren't you curious? Come on. Yeah. How do we set a boundary? Because a lot of times we set a boundary and we're not really setting a boundary. And let me explain. Mm-hmm. The only way you can set a boundary is if you first know what you value. Yeah. Values define, boundaries defend. They defend your values. Larry and I are having the most wild conversation this morning. We don't have any boundaries, I said to him. He goes, I know. And we had to kind of excavate that idea. Like, what? Why don't we have boundaries? You know why we don't have a lot of boundaries? Because we have so many shared values. We have so many shared interests. I was like scratching my head. Well, there's nothing to defend here. Because I wanted a boundary. I wanted a boundary. I wanted to set a consequence. Well, if you don't do that, then I'm going to do this. Because that's what boundaries are. Boundaries have to have consequences, or you don't really have a boundary. You have a wish you had a boundary.
I could build you a block wall. There's a boundary.
There's a boundary. So let's figure this out. Setting boundaries is a 3-step process. I know I made all this up, so I want you to buy into it. Not Patricia, but everyone else. So number 1, setting a boundary. Number 1, first we establish the rules we live by our values. What's important to us? What are our negotiables and our non-negotiables? Okay. Second, what do? We determine how will we defend those rules. How will we defend them? And 3, we decide on what we will do when we are undefended and what those consequences will be. I know, this is a lot, but think about it. In my primary family, this is another part of our juicy conversation this morning. In my primary family, we had no boundaries. I had no values. Before I was a teenager, I was living within the bounds of my parents' values. When I started to individuate, this is my dad. Get that look off your face. Get that attitude. Go to your room. I no longer valued what they valued. I started to value what I valued. And I even created boundaries because I'd never had them. One was that I didn't like to be hit, violated. Now, the only consequence I could come up with was hit me all you want, but I'm not going to wince. I'm not going to even utter a sound. You can take the belt, buckle of the belt, and hit me as many times as you want, but you won't get anything out of me. You won't get a reaction. I'm going to be stoic. And the more I was like that, what would happen? The more I got beat. So in our primary families, we may have all the same shared values. You could have had Father Knows Best, Lassie, that dog in that family, Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver. I would watch those families, and that wasn't my family. How about you? Anybody have the Leave It to Beaver family? 1. 2? Oh, Cookie. Oh, Cookie and Rude. Of course you did. Of course you did. But as I grew up, I started to figure out what was important to me. What was important to us in our era, coming into the 60s, was to notice I was a woman. And I wasn't treated the same way as that guy. I was an ultrasound technologist. I was registered in 5 modalities. I was cardiac and abdominal and OBGYN. I was amazing. And that guy right next to me, without the credentials I had, made more money than I did. Had more opportunity for the on-call because he had a family to support. I didn't. Yes, I did. I started to value myself as a woman. I set boundaries. I fought for myself. Does this make sense? Is any of this making sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I got married, and again, my guru and I were having this conversation this morning, and I thought, where did I lose my boundaries in my marriage? And then I realized I wanted him in my life more than I wanted to live my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wanted him in my life more than I wanted to live my life. Had anybody resonate with this?
Oh, yeah.
And so, no boundaries. Because when you have a boundary, you have a consequence. Boundaries defend. If you have no consequence, you don't have a boundary. You think you do. What we do is we say, well, they crossed the boundary. So, you don't have any boundaries. If someone can cross them and there's no consequence, there's nothing happens, nothing changes, do you have a boundary? You don't. And so what would happen in a relationship if I created a boundary? I would possibly have to give up the relationship. And that wasn't going to happen. So think about this idea of boundaries in three ways: values, virtues, and boundaries. Values is the rules we live by. Virtues is how we behave. And the boundaries are how we defend. So values is how we express life. Correct? As spiritual beings, we are individualizations of source, as Ernest Holmes says, and our unique intentions, desires, and boundaries are our life. Ernest Holmes he teaches us to be individual expressions of the one. Individual, individuated. What did he say? Like, if you're not living your life, never mind. Never mind. When we live as if we lack boundaries, we unconsciously tell others, and I don't think it's unconscious, I think it's both, unconscious and conscious, that there's nothing of ours that we hold sacred.
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah, right? We can feel that we exist for their use, and all is for the taking. Anybody relate to this?
Oh, yeah.
And of course we're going to stop somebody from doing harm unless we're children and have no choice. I'm not talking about that kind of, acute violation. I'm not talking about that today. I'm talking about what we value and how do we protect that. That's all. But I don't think we really walk around thinking about that. I think we kind of just like, okay. You know, I was telling somebody, Larry and I met on Match.com. Oh, Match.com. You know, total stranger? And I'm like, yeah. And I said, but I met my first husband in a bar. He was hot. That's all. That's all. 23 years old, 22 at the time. 22.
And no clue.
He's hot. I'm going to build my entire life on that. I'm going to have his children. God love you, baby. But when you're on Match.com, funny thing happens. And I'm not talking about people that get on there and lie and cheat and all that. I'm talking about people that really want to be in a relationship, are willing to risk it all and fill out the form accordingly with some semblance of honesty. You are looking at shared values and shared interests. And maybe if you meet down the line and there is a chemistry, yay! But it's really literally the opposite. You literally get to explore shared values and shared interests, and it's unbelievable. I like, what Larry and I were talking this morning, we don't have boundaries. Why? Because we have so many shared values and shared interests. There's nothing wrong here, nothing to fix here. The only thing that's scary being human beings together is telling the truth. Telling the truth, being authentic. That wasn't very nice what you just did then. It's been a year and a half or whatever, he's never said that, but it's possible that I could do something easily. Doug knows. That isn't very nice. Virtues, knowing our values and limits, empowers us to live in alignment with them. We behave accordingly. This is important to me. Being honest is important to me. Then guess what? I'm going to be honest. That's a virtue. Honesty. Oh, and how about this? It helps us to say yes to our yeses and no to our nos. And guess what? No is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. Like no. No creates its own boundary, doesn't it? And it doesn't require an explanation. I tend to over-explain. I'll say, no, that's not true, and then I'll feel badly. Oh, I wonder, how did that come across? Do they like me? Are they going to reject me? Are they going to talk about me? And then a whole monkey thing starts. And then I have to go back and say, let me explain my no, so that we both feel good here. At least I feel so good because you're so bored with this, you want me to be done. Honoring our boundaries is an act of self-love. Didn't we talk about that last week? Being authentic is an act of self-love. Now, here's the neat part. Listen to this. I thought this was pretty clever. While physical boundaries can act as walls, brick walls, whatever, when we communicate what's important to us, what the rules are, and what our boundaries are, instead of a wall, we are creating a clear path for others to connect with us. Boundaries build bridges. Thus, the name of the talk today. You thought I'd never get around to that, And so, does it take courage? Now, I had a slide. Well, look at that. And can we leave this up for a minute? I love you, Patricia. I liked this little slide. I like this slide very much. Because how to set boundaries is not commonplace with us. What's commonplace is to talk about boundaries. I have boundaries. That's my boundary. You've crossed my boundary. You know, what's funny about that is it's important to communicate what's important to us. It's important to communicate what's important to us first. And then, this is a boundary. This is a boundary. And then it's so clear, and not to wait until you feel defenseless and vulnerable, so that you're like, this is a boundary. Rather, nice conversation over donuts. You know, this is important to me, and if you do this, you're dead. No, I mean, being nice about it, explaining, right? But isn't this a cool slide? So, first of all, how do you set a boundary? I value, what do I value? Okay. I mean, wouldn't you like to have a t-shirt like this? I mean, I'd love to walk around going, okay, where do we start? We start with I value, so I need, and will honor by whatever it is you're going to do, okay? So how about we start with my well-being? I value my well-being, so I need to say no when it's not a true yes. And will honor by staying true when there is external pressure. How do you feel about external pressure on your boundaries? You know what we love least of all is conflict. Unless you love conflict. There are those people that love conflict. I'm not one of them. In fact, it would be really good if I loved it more. Because as a leader, if I'm afraid of conflict, listen to this. When we do not let others know what our limits are, we set ourselves up for a whole set of emotions, including resentment, betrayal, and anger. Don't we? Like, I didn't know you felt that way. Why are you acting all like angry at me? Because that's what I'll do. I won't, communicate when it's like a good time to communicate, when I want to. I value, so I need, and I will honor. I'll wait till I'm afraid, I'm pushed, I'm in fear, right? And I'll let you have it. Say sorry later. Anyone do that, or just I'm out here by myself? Okay, thank you. I didn't see any hands. There's one, but only real quick.
I call it push my buttons.
Thank you. I love the idea. We have the language. We have boundary and button language. This is my boundary, and you push my button. Oh, how about this one? I got triggered. Triggered, love that. But what else? Do we know anything about the foundation of any of these things that are like buzzwords now? Like, oh, you didn't tell me. Oh, we didn't have that conversation. I didn't know you felt that way. Would anybody be so brave as to take something you value, so I need and will honor by? Can you do this just with one thing? Anybody brave person? Anybody want to try it? Okay, Ruth. Yay. I paid her. Wait a minute. We have a mic.
Oh, shoot. I'm supposed to be the mic runner.
Oh, dear God. I feel like you should be the mic runner.
Thank you. So, energy and clarity. I value that. So, I need personal time. So, guess what? I'm having a firm decision that the first Sunday of next month I'm going to be on vacation. Will that work?
That is perfect. How did that feel?
It was awesome.
How did that feel?
And I'm so grateful that I have people that make it so I can.
Anybody willing to try? Anybody? There we go, Larry.
So, I value my time, and have discovered as it becomes shorter in life, that becomes more and more important. So I need to tell people what my time is worth. Because my time is becomes more valuable as it becomes shorter, and I have learned more. So, and I will honor that by letting people know, and they're not, and being clear with how much I value my time.
Wonderful. Any other brave soul want to try it? Want to try this? Is this kind of a new thing? I mean, anyone feeling like it's kind of a new way of approaching the boundary idea? What's that?
Totally. It's so nice to see it that way.
It's so nice.
I could try something.
There. Okay, Laura's going to try. Sue's going to try it. Laura was even called Linda this morning.
I know.
And you know why? You know why this is hard? Because when you first came to us, I don't know how many months ago, you introduced yourself together. And we're never going to get it.
never.
Unless you come up with new names and rename yourself and come individual. I don't know where we're going to get it. I don't know where Linda came in, but it's close to Laura. All right, girl.
Well, as I get older, I want to grow. So I'm very interested in growth. And I don't know quite how to tie it in to test my limits. But maybe, it's mainly at work. When somebody does something that upsets me, I would talk to everybody else. So I decided from now on, I'm going to talk directly to the person who upset me.
Oh my goodness.
So even though it's been a fearful thing, but I find that the friction turns into friendship.
Oh my goodness. That's a sermon.
It does, because this person that I was at odds with, I said, I said my piece and she said her piece.
Yes.
And we understood each other, and now we're the best of friends.
Wow.
At work.
So I will honor by going directly to the person.
Yeah, instead of going to my
Okay,
boss.
so use this language. I value, so I need, and I will honor by. Go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, Sue, I bet on Match as well.
Yeah, so.
Any other brave soul want to try it? Anybody? There's one.
Well, I value my growth and my honesty, to test my limits and to be real with myself and others. And I'm going to take action when I'm afraid by giving a speech after church.
Today.
Today. Beautiful. Come on, one more. Brave soul. I hear laughter in the back. All right. One thing I'm going to leave this up for a minute, because you might think of something, you never know. And what's really important for this work is, I think that when someone asks you from now on, like, do you know what a boundary is? I think we're going to... Authenticity. Let us pray. There's one power, one presence, the Almighty, called by many names. Allah, the Great Spirit, God, Spirit, avatars like Jesus and Buddha, Yahweh, so many names. And celebrated, sometimes on Sunday, sometimes on Saturday, but a lot all around the world, even with the indigenous people out where there is no civilization that we are familiar with, are celebrating the Spirit in each of us that is created by the one Spirit. That Spirit that creates all of us and connects us to each other. So there's only one body, one love, one mind, one heart. And we're all connected in that. That's what this is, the Sacramento Center for Spiritual Living, where we are the love and the life of the one that connects us to each other, to honor one another, to take care of one another, to feed one another, to shelter one another. This is good news. And what's powerful is that there's one mind. And in that mind, all is known. Everything. Everything we need is known. Everything we need to do in our lives is there in that intelligence. There's no mystery here other than the great mystery. And yes, we are human. We don't have access to all the answers, all the galaxies and all the universes that we don't even know about yet. We don't have all the answers. But the answer that I do have today is that I am a loving spirit. And I, every day, am doing my spiritual work, my reading, my research, my studying, my practice of what I learn, I take out in the world, and I move in the world with that knowledge. I apologize when I make a mistake. My intention is good. My intention is good, and thus, my intention is known to all. And this center is built on the vision of God's idea of itself as this community. That what we are doing here is bringing this teaching to the world so that everyone can feel the love and the light and the power and the presence and the connection, the belonging. That is what we are. And so I know that this nation is made of that very thing. I know this world, that our world leaders know within them somewhere that connection, that spark. And that the spark that connects us all to each other is influence. We are powerful beings, and we can influence with love and light and everything that does no harm. That is why we're here. And so I accept the blessings of this center, knowing we're growing exponentially, knowing that the children are coming, the diversity, the colors, the different ways we identify, that we teach each other, that we have a giant table and there's room for everyone. I humbly give thanks for this prayer answered. No, it's done. It's already done. I release my word into the law that makes it happen. I don't have to know how. God does God's work. I just know it does. And so I release my word. And please affirm with such excitement with me as we say, and so it is. Yeah. Woo! There it is.
Great.
I think we're going to have some more music here. Yes.
This is a song I wrote. My wife was in China at the time. There was a gentleman there that came from Aleppo, where they bombed everything to oblivion and destroyed 5,000 years of art and everything. I had this melody that I wrote driving down to see my mother in Santa Barbara one time. So I could put lyrics to it and fit it just like a glove. This song is for Aleppo. The choice is clear. The choice between the past is clear. There's better deals all through the year. What God has made with different views, they can't relate their faith abused. The
below your feet, up to the sky. Our love can share the reasons why. It's down to earth and by the sea. The rivers flow eternally. Nowhere does it go. I can't find a home beneath the rubble throne. Half my family's there, but I can find a bear beneath the burning stones. A better day waits down the road. Transistors in a radio, weld hand to hand to play their show. If music is the melody, then we would be in harmony. Below your feet, up to the sky. Our love can share the reason why. It's down to earth and by the sea. The rivers flow eternally. Nowhere does it go if I can't find a home beneath the rubble throne. Half my family's there, but I can find a bear beneath the burning stones. A better day waits down the road.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Oh, thank you.
Now I know why you said that Neil Young was one of your favorite. There is a distinct resemblance.
Thank you.
And it's lovely.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Oh. Thank you.
So we've come to the time of offering, of remembering, of giving. And we offer you the opportunity to give from your heart. We have been feeding all morning. So we like to be fed back. There is a flow, a circulation of good. And we have primed the pump. So we're asking you to give back. Giving financially is a sacred service. And in this time, it's also good for your taxes, which we all know are due soon. So giving to the center supports our vision, our mission, and our purpose. You can go to the website, www.saccscsl.org, and you can give through the donate button there. You can send us a check to that P.O. box, or Ms. Carol is passing around the basket. We will absolutely take what you offer to us today. And thank you. Our hearts are filled with gratitude for all that you give, and filled with joy for all that we give. If you will say our abundance affirmation with us, abiding by the law of circulation and in heartfelt gratitude, I affirm that I live in a creative and an abundant universe that continuously flows in, through, and out as me, expressing as the ever-expanding infinite good. And so it is. Can that be the truth? One of the things we love to do here, besides getting together on Sunday, is receiving your prayer requests and being able to pray on those for a week. We have a whole prayer team. So go to our website, and there is a button for you to give us your prayer requests, and they go out to the entire prayer team, and we work on them for a week. You're going to get results. Whatever growth you're looking for in your life, it is yours to have. We know that. And if you have any doubts, let us know that for you. Announcements. Isn't that your favorite part? Our website, saccscsl.org, is a wealth of information that tells you about our ongoing events and what our current events are. It gives you a place to look at old talks. We've archived, 100 talks in there, about 3 years worth. So if you missed a Sunday, come check out the website. If you want to know what classes are going on or workshops, check out the website. When you get on the website, you're going to see this screen. And one side says, they have press here buttons now. And one side's going to say, if it's Sunday and you think we're live streaming, press the button and you can be here no matter where you are. You can be with us. The other one will get you to our YouTube channel. What I discovered last night while walking my brother through this is if you press the live button, even when it's not Sunday, it takes you to our archive and you can see all of the talks. So it really is a one spot, does everything. One more announcement. For the past 7 weeks, 6 of us have been getting together as part of a Rise and Speak class. And the purpose of the class is to take a defining moment in our lives and create a 15-minute talk around it that talks about, as one of us says, the lessons and the blessings of that experience. And 6 members of your congregation are going to be doing their 15-minute talks starting at 12:30 today. And it's Debbie and Jim Putnam, Jim Cartan, Doug and I, and Kathy Harvey. And we invite you to stay. You need to get some food. We're going to start at 12:30, so there's enough time to run out for lunch and come back. And we would really love to share with you our stories. So please join us. Every week we have an affirmation that we give to you. It's a gift. And this week's is sharing my boundaries builds bridges to authentically connect with others. Let's say it together. Sharing my boundaries builds bridges to authentically connect with others. And now our benediction. Such a morning. Such a morning. Full of music and a message to free us to be the authentic beings that we are. To let God's idea of ourselves be the unique expression of love in the world. What more could we want? How much better than this does it get? And so I give thanks for all that's been said, all that's been felt, all that's been known, all that's been heard. And I take this into my innermost heart and I bring it out to the world. And so it is.
So it is.
So it is.
And now our closing song by our fabulous,
Linda and Karen.
also known as Sue and Laura.
Yay! We got it right. Isn't that the funniest thing?
Oh, and Dan's going to join them. How lovely.
Yeah, he's gonna jam, we're gonna jam.
We're fighting time. 1, 2, 3, 4.